Here with mayoral candidate Kelly Brough making her closing argument for Denver mayor. All right, so you've got 30 seconds to convince somebody to vote for you for mayor. What's your pitch?
Yeah, I think our city's at a crossroads, and it really requires someone who on day one can get to work. Get to work housing and sheltering those who are most vulnerable in our city, revitalizing our downtown, making our neighborhoods safe. And I can do it. I have the experience. I've done it before as John Hickenlooper's chief of staff. I've been the head of HR, and I can go to work on day one.
Sounds like you've done that before. So running for mayor, you deal with just a fire hose of new information, new perspectives. Is there an issue where you have changed your view based on something you've learned on the campaign trail?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll give you one example. You know, I've commuted on my bike for 30 years. I'm a huge proponent of it being safe to ride. And so I said in the very beginning, yeah, let's expand those bike lanes. And then I saw the Vision Zero results, like as I was meeting with residents and seeing that we're actually killing pedestrians and cyclists. And so I said, let's regroup and make sure we're making the right investments and doing this right, and regroup quickly to make the right investments. But that would be an example.
So is that, you don't think that we should expand bike lanes, or you're just not sure if we should continue the path that we're going down now?
I think we got to do it right so that we're actually, I think if we're going to ask people to get out of their cars, to ride their bike or take the bus, we got to make it safe. And so I'd make sure we're doing it right.
Several hundred women have gathered at the state capitol today for a protest. They're calling for a complete ban on guns. We'll start with the yes or no, and then we can talk about it more broadly. Yes or no, do you support Here for the Kids' goal of banning guns completely?
I know you like yes and no's, but I'm going to tell you what I support is moms trying to keep their kids safe. And I get that. But I also recognize we have a Constitution, and I get that too.
Is it constitutional to ban all guns?
Well, the U.S. Constitution is pretty clear that we have a right to have guns. And so the conversation I think we have to be having is, what do we need to do to keep people safe today? And we're not hitting that mark. We know that.
I don't know if you saw the comments from State Senators Rhonda Fields and Tom Sullivan on this, who have led on gun safety laws in Colorado for years, but they think that what's happening at the Capitol today is actually counterproductive, that it's going to hurt their efforts. Do you have any thoughts on that? Yeah,
I will just say I respect Senator Fields so much and her leadership. Frankly, that's who I would rely on, people just like her, on how best do we do this work to improve safety.
I'm going to ask both you and Mike Johnston to respond to a specific criticism from a prominent person in our community. In your case, John Parvensky, the longtime head of Colorado Coalition for the Homeless. He's newly retired, able to be involved in politics. He's supporting your opponent. He wrote, Kelly Brough has had many chances to prove her commitment to real solutions to homelessness. Her record shows neglect and indifference. She favors business over people. What are your thoughts about what he said?
Yeah, I completely disagree, obviously. Listen, first of all, I would say these are all people, and we do have to address this issue. For me, my priority around supporting people who are experiencing homelessness has been to save their lives and improve the neighborhoods where they're living today. And I think we have to do both of those things. And I think my approach that says let's get people to safer locations as quickly as we can does just that, while we build as a region the housing and shelter we need to get people indoors.
His criticism is about your past record. When you look at your past record at the chamber as it related to homelessness issues, do you regret anything you did there, or do you feel like you did the best you could with what you knew at the time?
Yeah, I think I did the best I could with, but I would also say, you know, at the chamber, our focus was really around growing jobs. So people actually had the opportunity to earn a living, that you could support your family and afford housing. And I do think that is all about working families being able to live successfully in our region. And we know a huge part of homelessness is the cost of living here.
You've criticized your opponent because he has out-of-state billionaires who are backing his campaign. You also have some very wealthy people supporting you. Conservative billionaire Phil Anschutz is supporting you. The former Republican Senate candidate Pete Coors is supporting you. At what point does a lot of money from a rich person go from being okay to being a problem?
Yeah, hey, listen, those independent groups, neither of us control. I really want to acknowledge that. But you gotta admit there's no comparison in what we're seeing today. I think everyone is shocked by it. I think it's 25 times the largest contributors that you've described who are supporting that independent group that's supporting me. His largest contributor is 25 times that. It's shocking. And I also look at, you know, when I see that list, Kyle, you see people whose kids go to our schools, who live in our neighborhoods, whose employees are scared to work downtown. I understand why they're investing in our city. It's the same reason voters are supporting me. They want us to turn that around.
And certainly when we talk to Mike Johnson in a minute, we're going to talk to him about that. And you're right about the scale. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars versus $1.7 million from Reid Hoffman alone coming into the race. But is it just the local issue that if they're local, their money's not problematic, but if they're out of state, their money's because you've got out of state money too?
Not small percentages for sure. My base is really right here, but I think it's a magnitude issue in this case. Like, I don't know why somebody gives you $1.7 million, but I'm smart enough to know there's a reason, and it's eye-opening. And I do think you want people right here in our own region who are impacted by the decisions of the next mayor to guide who should be our next mayor and to be able to vote for them.
We'll ask Mike Johnson the same question, but do you have a guess of what Reid Hoffman wants?
No, I do not. I have no idea why someone gives you $1.7 million.
You were challenged at a recent Black Women Vote Forum on whether you were sacrificing, that was the word used, sacrificing women of color, and a black woman specifically, to benefit your political career. You told the Denver Post that State Representative Leslie Herod wanted a job from you in return for her endorsement. She categorically denies that it happened. In our 9 News debate, one of your most pointed attacks wasn't against your opponent, but it was against Leslie Herod and Lisa Calderon, former competitors who are now supporting your opponent. Why go after them? They're not in the race anymore.
Yeah, I was just asked a question by a reporter, and I answered honestly. And same in the debate. I was asked a question about why they didn't endorse me, the question I think you all asked. And my answer was, I understand, right? These are two of the loudest voices for defunding the police. And I actually don't think that's the right approach for our future. I think we have to support our police and hold them accountable. So I could see why they didn't support me.
Well, defunding the police is certainly not a view that Mike Johnson holds. You guys are pretty close together on the issue of police reform, hiring more officers, that kind of thing. So those women who endorse him have different views than he does on police. Would you acknowledge that?
I would let him respond to that.
Okay. Is there an issue that you hear voters talking about all the time that you think that we in the media are missing?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely school safety has come up more and more in the last couple of months than we were all talking about initially. But it fits inside that category of overall community safety. And so that may be an area. Climate change is another one. Commitment to the environment, I would say, definitely is a space that in my conversations in our community has come up much more than it came up in the forums.
On the issue of school safety, I mean, that's something that's kind of evolving as we talk about it. It's changed a lot since our last conversation. Now you've got the DPS board split over whether to allow SROs next year and what that mechanism looks like. Has your view on that changed? At one point you said let the principals decide. Mike Johnson holds the same view on that. Some of the principals said that they didn't want the responsibility. What's your thought about where DPS needs to head in the next couple of months on that?
I think it's critical that schools decide, and I wouldn't just list principals, I would say schools, right? This is where parents, teachers, and principals coming together to say what makes sense for our school. Is it a school resource officer or a mental health professional? I don't understand a one-size-fits-all. Frankly, I don't think that's worked in our cities, where we pretend you either choose you have police or no police. The truth is, both of the challenges we're trying to address with those approaches can be true at the same time, and a good mayor can manage to them. I would say the same for our school board. Help your schools manage to the reality of what they face.
Last question I'll ask you in this race. What have you liked most and disliked most about running for mayor?
You know what I've loved the most is being with people in their neighborhoods, in their coffee shops, in their living rooms, talking about real issues with real people who just want their lives to be improved and are looking for a mayor who can help them do it. Probably the thing I like least is a whole lot of talking, not a lot of doing, and I'm a doer. I'm ready to go to work, and I'm excited to do it, and I hope I get the chance to.
I'll say this, you and your campaign have answered every question that we've had over the course of the campaign, and you've made yourself available for in-depth conversation, so I hope that would continue if you're elected.
Me too.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.